Welcome to Mac Talk, a Middle Tennessee podcast from Whitehaven Arts and Cultural Center in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm your announcer, Kennedy Galpin. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Paul Winkler Inc., helping investors relax about money.
Thank you, Kennedy, and welcome everyone to Mac Talk. I'm your host, John Pitcher. We like to think of the Mac as a cultural town square where we encourage everyone to be their creative best. So, Kennedy, speaking of creative best, what sort of drawings have you been doing this last week or so in your Hobonichi Techo?
You're gonna flame me for this.
I'm gonna what? I'm gonna flame you?
Yeah, you're gonna
What's
flame me
going
for
on?
this. I have not drawn in my Hobonichi recently.
What have you been up to then? You've not been creative?
I have. I've been. So recently I got a traveler's notebook, which is from a similar brand from Japan. And I've been doodling in that because it's easy just to sit down and do something like really fast and it's actually kind of given me the freedom in a way to draw stuff with like colored pencil and then like ink over it and with micron pens usually, I would say. Sometimes fountain pens, but usually the microns. And I haven't done that in a while. So it's kind of been fun to mess with that and just like do like stress-free, no kind of time constraint drawing for a bit. So I don't know. It's kind of nice just to get back to doodling for once in my life and not just like drawing something daily.
I can see the advantages to that. But on the other hand, the Hobonichi Techo would keep you accountable, right?
Yeah, that is the joy of that. And I will get back into
and that's
the
what makes
Hobonichi.
you good, Kennedy, is just doing it every day, making sure you do it every
I
day.
know.
It's like writing a poem every day.
I know. And I'm gonna get back into it. I plan to. It's fun to mess with the travelers for now, and I think I will take kind of some of the stuff I have done in my travelers and kind of use some techniques that I've used in there into my Hobonichi where I'm inking more often, which I found out I really do still enjoy a lot. So I think I will do that.
Okay,
and
but
get back into it.
One last thing in your traveler's notebook, though, what are you drawing?
Same old. A lot of sports stuff, a lot of gaming stuff, a lot of comic book stuff. Wonder Woman again, great, love it, because the Absolute series of comics has been incredible, love it. Amazing, wonderful. Lots of adjectives there.
Okay, what's the sports stuff though?
Hockey.
I'm thinking about that
It's
because
hockey.
the Nashville scene had a sports cover.
It's hockey.
So now I'm interested. It's hockey?
It's hockey. You actually sent me an article about the women's hockey in Nashville, so that's been a lot of fun because I've been watching a lot of women's hockey with the PWHL. So it's fun to see that Nashville itself has a big women's hockey group as well that's also campaigning for it.
And you're also drawing it.
I am.
All right, cool. All right. On a totally different subject, let's go ahead and introduce today's guest. Jason Spelbring is an actor, director, and educator who became artistic director of Nashville Shakespeare Festival in August 2024. Jason received his BFA in theater from Webster University and his MFA in theater from the University of California at Irvine. Prior to moving to Nashville, he was an associate department head and a professor of acting at the University of Utah for 11 years. He spent nearly 25 years acting in the Utah Shakespeare Festival. Of course, as Shakespeare wrote, one man in his time plays many parts, and right now Jason's role is to lead Nashville Shakespeare Festival into the future. We're excited he's here to speak with us about Shakespeare Fest. Jason Spelbring, welcome to Mac Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
I'm always excited when someone from Nashville Shakespeare Festival stops by. And of course, we're really excited about you because you're somewhat new here now. You've been here for a little over a year, right?
A year, just over a year and a half. Yes.
Okay.
So still new, but not brand new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we might start out by introducing you with maybe a fun fact. That is, I understand it. You got the gymnastics bug before you got the acting bug.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about that, and also maybe expound on how that actually has become relevant to your career in theater.
Wow, you've done your research. Yes. I was lucky enough to grow up in a very, very small town in Northern California. But with a small town comes limited resources. So the nearest place for me to explore gymnastics was in a town 30, 40 minutes away. My parents just could not afford to send me or drive me. And I got bitten by the bug by watching gymnastics on television, mostly during Olympics. And I was lucky enough to live right next to an elementary school that had all of the playground equipment that you would need and open fields of grass. And I would...
Sounds like the jungle gym and
yeah,
things like
just
that.
the rings and the bars. And I would just spend my summer afternoons teaching myself. I mean, I look back now and it's quite dangerous to think that I was doing round offs and back handsprings without anybody spotting me, without a proper pad. But yeah, I just had this desire. And like you said, I got bit by the bug that thought I can do that. But what's really interesting about it is it taught me at a young age, that I have the ability to use my body and to tell stories with my body, because I would create these little routines and have my parents come and watch me. It was full on. I would start on the grass and do, a round off, like cartwheel, a back handspring, and I would have the poses down, and then I'd bring my parents over to the bars and I would do death drops and land on the grass there. And I joke about it because my dad was impressed and a little bit confused, and my mom was absolutely terrified.
Yeah, because you might break your neck.
Oh yeah, and she's a former nurse, EMT, and she's watching her youngest son flip around. But the confidence and the ability to understand my body and how it moves, it felt like a really natural way into the arts, which later served me in stage combat class, where we were learning how to fall, or with swords in my hands, or as I say in this TEDx talk that I did, like red-nosed clowns, which have no voice, they just have expression and movement. So I was training myself to be an actor before I even knew it, by just finding the confidence in teaching myself how to tumble. And I do think, I say this, and I've said this before, I feel like if the universe had shifted me a little bit and my parents were able to bring me to a gymnastics studio, I think I would have found teaching, and I think it would have been as a gymnastics coach. And I feel like I would have gone to university on a scholarship. I feel like that would have been my path. And where I would have ended, I don't know, but it feels like this division happened in a great way where I lived and what was available to me. And I think about that often, that I'd be sitting in an office at some big university as the gymnastics coach or whatever. So,
it made you aware of your body, among other things. I mean, my art form is piano, and so at one time or another, I've experienced Alexander technique.
Oh yeah,
and because if you want to play fluently, you can have no tension in the shoulders or arms or the finger. You don't even talk about the fingers. So in taking some Alexander technique once, I was informed by the instructor that, you drag your foot a little bit when you walk. And he informed me that, ballet dancers never do that.
Yep.
They are so aware of every aspect of their movement.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that if you're somebody who's an actor walking on stage to do Shakespeare, that's very helpful.
It is. And I often was people were confused by me and thought that I was a dancer because I knew how to move my body, and I could download things pretty quickly. So if somebody showed me, I call it the 24-hour technique. If you show me something to do with movement or body or dance, it's going to take me about 24 hours because my brain has to process it, but my body knew how to do it, I think, because of all of the throwing myself around on the grass. And a lot of people mistook my awareness of my body as a trained dancer. So there were a lot of times where I was like, oh no, I've never taken a tap class before. And
of course, there's choreography in a lot of theater.
Of course, but it's all connected, right? So you're using that part of your brain, and then that brain gets activated and you're like, oh, this feels familiar. This feels great. And what better thing to be associated with than Shakespeare? Oh, yeah. I mean, the costumes, you have to hold yourself.
When you think about, Shakespeare, the first thing that comes in mind, is, the iambic pentameter.
Yes.
The rhythm. Elizabethan English. But Shakespeare is also extremely physical.
Very, very physical. Lots of carrying, lots of sword fights, lots of breath support that you need, and that's a very physical side of the technique, the language of it. So you put a broadsword in my hand and I was in heaven, because I was basically doing all the movement just being told when to cut and parry and bind away. So it's weird to think that William Shakespeare, out of all the playwrights, has been my most practiced playwright. He has paid rent for me. He's put me in places like London on the West End. I've just had all of this experience through William Shakespeare. And now here I am as an artistic director of the Nashville Shakespeare Festival, which main focus is Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
You have already had a career in academia, right? You
Yes,
were at Utah State University for a number of years teaching acting.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that and what attracted you to leave after that many years to come to something totally new.
Yeah, this is a great question. And it really is about the universe and being patient. So I was in New York for 5 years, and a friend called me and said, hey, you had mentioned one time, this was after I had my Master of Fine Arts from UC Irvine. He said, you had mentioned one time that you were interested in teaching. And I'm now at a program in Southern California, and we're growing that program. So we're looking for other potential teachers. You might want to apply. And so I applied, and it was for a private high school in Newport Beach, which ironically was right next to UC Irvine. So it was one of those times in New York where I was like, I'm going to invest in New York. And how much more do I want to invest in? And I'd been there for 5 years and had a really great career, had great agents, I was doing really, really great things. But I realized that I wanted a little bit more stability. So I thought, I'll just go try this teaching thing. It's only during the school year. In the summers, I'll keep my relationships with all the summer Shakespeare festivals that I know. And I can work during the summer and then be a teacher during the academic year. And that led to 4 years there. And then another program in Ojai engaged me to reboot their theater program and work as an associate development director. So taking my skills in how to direct, working with the development associates there. And from there, a phone call happened again where a friend that was at a university, at Utah State University's then Kane College of the Arts, it's now just Utah State University's Department of Theater Arts, but they said, hey, we're growing our program and we think you'd be great, you should apply. So there are people in the universe that train to be teachers, and it's what they really desperately want to do. And I just found it. And it sounds weird to me because I know people are probably listening to this thinking I wish that would happen to me. I took all of those skills, everything I learned. So I was 4 years at one private high school, 2 years at another, and 11 years at Utah State University. And all of those skills I'm using now as the artistic director at Nashville Shakespeare Festival. Everything I learned, I am now applying in one job. And it just took me a while to realize, collect this here, learn this skill here. I jokingly say I've learned more from bad leadership than I have from good leadership, but just clocking all of those. And one day there was a post that said Nashville Shakes is doing a search for their next artistic director. And I read the bio or the announcement, and I was like, I can do this. Am I moving? Do I want to move? I have friends, I have a home. And the answer was, yes, you get to go around this beautiful earth once. And if this is what it is, then I'm not going to not apply.
We're speaking with Jason Spelbring, the artistic director of Nashville Shakespeare Festival. We'll be back after this important message.
Paul Winkler Inc. is a strong supporter of arts education. The arts foster creativity and critical thinking. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop a lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by Paul Winkler Inc., helping investors relax about money. For more information, go to paulwinkler.com.
We're back with Nashville Shakespeare Festival's director, Jason Spelbring. Well, Nashville also happens to be a real arts town.
Yes.
As well, which must be a bonus.
Yeah.
Just on this podcast alone, the last few weeks, we've had a podcast on Nashville as the leading center for video game music.
Yeah.
It has a major hip hop collective now.
Yes.
It's got opera, ballet, and of course it's the country music capital of the known universe.
Yes.
So, which means that it has an incredible number of really great studio musicians.
And plus, incredible actors.
And plus, as you see from here, there's and what we have seen from a recent exhibition at the Frisk Museum, it's got some of the most cutting edge visual artists.
Yes. Yes.
and you'll find anywhere. So
I couldn't agree more. And add amazing actors and dancers and musical theater actors to that, and
it's an art city.
It is.
So
an
that
art
has to be
city.
a bonus because it must be inspiring to somebody who's
is.
trying to conceive a season every year.
It is. It really is, and it's easy. It's easy because not just the talent that lives here, but the training programs, the universities that are in Nashville are training amazing artists on all levels, from design tech to acting to producing, stage management. Like, we've got some amazing training programs right here within Nashville city limits, which is, to me, a secret that is slowly getting out, as we all know, as we try to drive to the market, and it takes us 45 minutes because this town is booming. But it is an incredibly, and I can speak to actors more collectively because that's what I deal with. The number of people that come out to audition for us is incredible. I wish we could do 12 Shakespeare plays because there are that many people that come out that want to be a part of what we do, and it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that Shakespeare has been your bread and butter for so many years. Do you have a favorite Shakespeare play?
I do. I have a couple, actually. And we can unpack why. Romeo and Juliet, and these feel like low-hanging fruit, but they all have a collective connection to me. But Romeo and Juliet probably is my number one most connected.
And just think of all the things that has inspired.
Yes, yeah. And my history with that title, and of course William Shakespeare. Twelfth Night, or What You Will, that show to me is the perfect show, and I still have not figured it out. I've directed it 4 times. I've directed the musical Illyria once, and I've been in it 4 times in 4 different roles, and I have not figured out yet, because it's a perfect balance of darkness and light. There's just so much heaviness in it in terms of plot, but so much humor and light. It's one of Shakespeare's most musical plays, and it just fascinates me. I just want to figure it out, and I haven't yet, and I hope that I will. And then I love Cymbeline. It feels to me like the origin of fairy tales in Shakespeare's world, with the evil stepmother, just the family sense of it. It's just a really, really beautifully structured romance. I love it, and a problem play, but I love Cymbeline. So those 3 to me, and then I can go on.
Oh, sure.
And on and on.
Well, Isabel and I certainly bonded a little bit on Romeo and Juliet because of its influence on Leonard Bernstein and West Side Story.
Yes, of course.
And of course, as a music person, West Side Story for me was always so important because all the melodies are the melodies you need to learn in ear training when you're in music school.
Yes.
Maria is the tritone.
Oh, it's so
great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like all you needed to learn about ear training you can learn by just going to that one musical.
Right, and it's linked right to Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Totally linked to it. So amazing. Well, another one of my favorites, because of a musical background, is Midsummer Night's Dream, which you guys are doing, right?
We are, yes.
Amazing, of course. Mendelssohn wrote the incidental music to it. One of my first memories of it is which dates me back to the 1990s, is watching the movie that had Michelle Pfeiffer as Titania.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Stanley Tucci as Puck.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And Kevin Kline as Nick Bottom turning into a donkey.
I can still see the cover of that. It was the not even the DVD. It was the VHS tape. The cover of it. It just had a magical forest theme, and it was all sparkly and little. It was just beautifully curated.
One of the all-time great Shakespeare comedies. Tell me a little bit about what we're going to see and what your approach to this is going to be.
Thank you for this question, because I think first of all, we should do a little bit of history. So in 2018, the Nashville Shakespeare Festival left Centennial Park to move to one city. And that season was A Midsummer Night's Dream. So all these years later, we are returning to Centennial Park with A Midsummer Night's Dream. And it was my way of sort of gently nodding to the history, which is very important to me as an artistic director. It's one of the 3 things that I find most valuable, is to honor the history and know the history. And so I really did study the history. And anytime there is a founder or a board member that is been with us for a while, or even a staff member, I just download all the information. So it was really important for us to I think, return to Centennial Park with A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's also a fan favorite. It'll give people a chance to be reintroduced to us. Some people didn't realize that we'd left to go over to One City. So this is a way for us to land back home at the bandshell, which also has its history. The bandshell alone, that structure, the artists talk about dancing and singing and musicians and theater. If those walls could talk, the number of events that bandshell has hosted since its founding in 1960 something is incredible. But I'm approaching A Midsummer, as I say to the designers and the team, it's not fairies and twinkling, it's more forest floor. So it's going to have an earthiness to it. And I want to make sure that anything found in objects in the play are from the earth. So, for example, Bottom's ears will be leaves of trees and branches, opposed to an ass head kind of thing. We're not going to have the fairies with wings. We're going to find more of a sort of grounded, earthy approach to it. And the scenic elements are 7 giant trees that are all made of reclaimed wood in and around Nashville, as a way to acknowledge the fact that we have a footprint that we want to be mindful of. So going to purchase lumber to then build something and then just to put it back in the landfill seems a little counterintuitive to me. So we're working with a local design firm in Nashville to collect wood from projects and crates, and then we're going to create these 7 trees that will fill in forced perspective the entire deck of the bandshell, which will give the lovers places to run around and Puck and Oberon to climb on and do their magic.
Mm-hmm. What's the most challenging thing about putting that particular production on?
People's expectations. A lot of people know it, or a lot of people have done it. And so they are expecting a certain thing, especially with the mechanicals. Everyone has, the play within the play. Everyone,
the actors. Yeah.
Yes. The early career actors that are, and audience members know it because their high school probably did it, or their junior high probably did it. So taking on a title that most people know, but I'm always true to the playwright. We're not going to do anything wonky, although there are no rights. I don't have to get approval. We are staying true to the text and the story. So inviting people to come and hear a play for the first time.
Right. And it's quite a play to hear, because you've got some parallel characters there, right? You have Theseus and Hippolyta, who have their own love story.
That's right.
And then that's paralleled by your fairy king and queen, Titania. And so how does that sort of unfold in your story, and then sort of mixes in with your play within a play? Yeah.
So the fun thing, and this is not uncommon, but I love it, is we are doubling up a lot of characters. So our Oberon is our Theseus, and
the 2 kings.
Yep. Okay. And Titania is our Hippolyta.
Okay.
And then our Aegeus, which is the father of the young lovers, is our Nick Bottom. And then all of our mechanicals are also playing fairies. So it's going to be a magic night of watching people transform literally in front. There are literally 4 characters, 5 if you count Puck. So Lysander and Demetrius, Helena and Hermia, and Puck are the only ones that will be one character throughout. But everyone else will have multiple roles to play. So it'll be a magic show with the costume designer and the staging of it, and how we move through this play, creating 2 casts out of one set of actors.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a little puzzle.
Like a real blast to watch.
It's going to be a puzzle, because there are a couple of moments you're like, so Nick Bottom has to have an ass head on and get pulled behind a tree, but then Aegeus, who he's doubled as, has to come in and find the young lovers, but we don't see Bottom, so we can have that actor slide off, change into Aegeus, come back, find the lovers, leave, quick change back into Bottom, come back out, and be like, where is everybody? So we'll have these little hidden track gems throughout.
Right. Well, I've never ceased to be just delighted by Shakespeare's sense of humor.
Yes.
Because I can only imagine what the first audiences that saw that would have thought.
I think about that all the time.
Myself in their shoes.
Me too.
And that was probably what they were talking about at the tavern for the next month.
I think about that all of the time. Is what moments do we have in this modern day where we are watching something, because a lot of things are remakes of things or retellings of stories, as Shakespeare did. He took Greek and he made it his. But I think often the first audience that saw Romeo and Juliet, and when he drinks the poison and everybody's like, what a sad story. And then she wakes up and everybody is like, for the first time, watching this tragedy unfold.
Right.
Because Romeo and Juliet, if we can go back, which is why I love it, is Act 1 is a comedy, Act 2 is a tragedy. It is a perfect balance of the two. And Shakespeare keeps it a comedy until he cannot anymore. But all the way up until the first moment where it doesn't feel like a comedy anymore, it turns on a dime. And that to me is just fascinating, that people are rolling in the aisles. They're laughing at the nurse. The boys are, Benvolio and Mercutio and Romeo are just 3 college kids just yucking it up for as long as they can until tragedy happens. And then it's just a downhill slide from there. And it's just beautifully written. And I think it's one of the best. But I think about audiences seeing that show for the very first time.
Well, and that must be something that is extremely encouraging to you just in general, because one thing a lot of people forget about when they specialize in the classics, whether it's, producing Shakespeare or if you're a conductor and you're conducting Beethoven, is that there are always going to be people in your audience who are hearing or seeing this for the very first time in their lives.
Yes.
I hear all sorts of complaints from dance critics. I used to be a newspaper critic.
Yeah.
About the Nutcracker. It's like, can't we do something other than the Nutcracker?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I totally get that. Yeah. You don't want to just have nothing but Nutcracker, but that's also one of the perfect, entry points for dance.
Yep.
And for ballet, if you want to understand it and appreciate it.
Yes. And especially
it's indispensable.
And especially if you're inviting, educational experiences or young audiences to see it, they are experiencing that for the first time and realizing I can do that. I can have a career in that. We produced my first title that I produced as artistic director was last summer's The Merry Wives of Windsor, which I love. And I've seen a half a dozen times, just rolling in the aisles. But the number of patrons that came up to say, I have never seen this play before, and it is my favorite. That's great. That to me as an artistic director says, what else can we share with you? What other titles would you be willing to sit through because we're going to do a good job with them, and you can leave and say, Pericles is now my favorite Shakespeare play. Or something like King John, which is a beautifully written play, fierce language, strong women. What if a patron sees that? So there is an element that there are some audiences that we get to produce plays for that don't have as much experience with Shakespeare, where they might be those people seeing Romeo and Juliet for the first time. Or certainly The Merry Wives of Windsor, which is a funny, hilarious, female-driven play that our audiences loved. And to me, as someone who has done a lot of Shakespeare at other theater companies, thinking this is really exciting to have an audience base that may not know all of these titles. And what can we do next to share with them the 38 plays that Shakespeare wrote?
Right. We're speaking with Jason Spelbring, the artistic director of Nashville Shakespeare Festival. We'll be back after this important message.
Paul Winkler Inc. reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in finding something creative for your child to do this summer? Registration for the Max Summer Art Camp is now open. Go to monthavenarts.org/classes for more information.
We're back with Nashville Shakespeare Festival's director, Jason Spelbring. Well, very importantly, Nashville Shakespeare Festival does more than just Shakespeare, though.
Yes.
You have a season, and they're often Shakespeare related sometimes.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about the rationale for that, about branching out and doing other things.
Yeah, no, I talked to a former board member. Isabel and I were having a lunch with a former board member, and they said that they cannot recall in their time ever seeing Nashville Shakespeare Festival announce a season. So a series of plays at the same time, which in the defense of a theater, it takes a lot of planning. You have to have a budget outlined. You have to get the rights for things if they're needed. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that. It's not just here are the plays we're doing. But when I joined the team a year and a half ago, Shakespeare is our center point. It is what we do. So we will always start a season with a Shakespeare, which is our Shakespeare Education Experience school tour. We will always start with that, and we will always end with Shakespeare in the Park. So this coming season...
So you're ending with... You'll be ending this year.
Yes, so this production,
Midsummer.
Midsummer is the end of our 38th season. Crazy. We just announced our 39th season, which just went live on social media. And now we're planning for our 40th season. So when I look ahead, I look at ways that we can engage our community and make sure that they are leaning forward in their seats. So that includes playwrights and other Shakespeare and other celebrated playwrights. There are so many playwrights out there that are doing work that to me is parallel to Shakespeare's work. And
We're inspired by it, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Lauren Gunderson, we're doing A Room in the Castle.
I was going to ask you about that. That's a year from now, but still,
Yes.
that takes its departure point from Hamlet, right? From
It
the women
does.
of Hamlet.
The Women of Hamlet.
Tell me a little bit about that.
That's exactly right. Well, it's just exactly falls in line with Celebrate the Works of William Shakespeare and other notable playwrights. Lauren Gunderson is doing exceptional work, and not just in Shakespeare's world, but she writes plays like A Room in the Castle that invite audiences that may not even know Hamlet or know the play of Hamlet, will sit in a theater and discover the women of Hamlet in a way that people that know Hamlet will love it, and people that don't know Hamlet will fall in love with these women and understand better who they are. And it's really important to me. And the other thing we've discovered, the team and I have discovered co-productions. How can we team up with other theater companies and provide the help that we have in-house to make our production better? So we just got done doing our first co-production of Fat Ham, again, based on Hamlet.
James Imes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's what Lauren Gunderson's play reminded me.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Another Hamlet.
Spin, yep.
Spin-off.
A spin-off.
Or reimagination.
Sure. Or the themes of it
Right.
tinkered with kind of thing. And that was the first co-production since 2007 that Nashville Rep and Nashville Shakespeare Festival had teamed up to do. And so by reintroducing this idea of co-productions, it's really expanding our ability to produce theater to a wider audience. We will always do a co-production with Belmont. They have been a stronghold with us. We used to do what we called Winter Shakespeare with Belmont and Belmont University. And now we just do a January, February co-production every other year. So when I first got here, we did Pride and Prejudice, Kate Hamill's Pride and Prejudice, which is an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. So it feels like it lives in our world. And then this upcoming season, we're doing The Importance of Being Earnest.
Right, Oscar Wilde.
Oscar Wilde, which is a great, again, complementary playwright to what William Shakespeare does and his works.
And nicely complementary to the end of this season, starting the next season.
Yes.
This is another comedy.
Yes, that's right. And then we're ending our 39th season with The Winter's Tale.
Yeah.
Which is just a beautiful romance. And I think people are going to maybe not know it, but walk away saying, this is my favorite Shakespeare. Because it, like a lot of his plays, starts out like Othello and ends like As You Like It. So the beginning of it has a lot of rage and a lot of jealousy and a lot of questioning. And then we transition to the forest and we have a love story and a grove and the woods. And it creates this just absolutely beautiful parallel world. And so our 39th season is amazing. Our 40th season is going to be incredible.
Right. Well, I think you're really doing your job if, you can introduce plays that people haven't seen as much and then have them walk away saying, that's my favorite.
That's my favorite.
Shakespeare."
That's my hope. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be really stupendous. Well, you mentioned your education series, your outreach.
Yes.
Could you go into a little bit more detail about that and why that's important to the Shakespeare Festival?
Yeah, I'm really proud of this. And I think a lot of people, they might be like, really? The Shakespeare educational experience was founded in 1992.
So you guys go back to the beginning pretty much.
I mean,
right?
we were founded in 1988 as a Shakespeare theater.
Right.
And in 1992, they introduced school tours, which are 50 to 55 minute condensed versions of the works of William Shakespeare. And I'm also proud of our team. Katie Bruno is the director of education, and she is a phenomenal teacher. We've been tinkering with new titles because a lot of times it's A Midsummer, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth. Then you go back and you wash, rinse, repeat. And my problem with that is, what if I do a Midsummer? Then I can't do a Midsummer because I can't start with Midsummer and end with Midsummer. That would just be kind of a weird programming thing. And then if it's just 3, yes, it's in alignment with what the teachers are teaching, but what if we can provide with the kids, oh, this is my new favorite. So we introduced Julius Caesar this last season, which did very well for us. And Katie did an incredible job. It was a beautiful production. We're going back to Romeo and Juliet, and then we'll probably do a Macbeth, and then we're going to introduce Much Ado About Nothing. And then we'll go back to a Midsummer. So every couple of years, we'll introduce a new Shakespeare Education Experience Tour title, just so our kids, who are the ones that are going to be long-term patrons for us, will have more than just 3 titles to their lexicon for Shakespeare.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you, you're still relatively new here and you're finding your footing. What do you hope to achieve in the next few years? Where do you hope to see Nashville Shakespeare Festival in about 5 years?
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. I would love for... I have internal facing and public facing. Mm-hmm. And so internal facing, I would love for us to be able to grow our team and add a couple of really important titles that we don't have, like a director of development and other associates. Because I keep joking with Isabel, the executive director, that if we get 1 click bigger, it's going to be kind of hard for us to maintain because we're just a small team.
Right.
And then public facing, I want us to be a summer destination for people all over the United States.
Oh,
I want them
amazing.
to think about their summer outing with their kids. And because Nashville already has so much to offer, that we are one of the reasons they are coming, because we're going back to the park, that they will come and enjoy an evening with us for free, pay what you will Shakespeare. And that will be the reason that brings them to Nashville. And then they go to the Country Museum, or they go to the Grand Ole Opry, or they do other things that we offer here in Nashville. But I want patrons to come to us knowing that we are here, and we are the reason they're coming and flying into the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am personally looking forward to everything that is coming up. Jason Spelbring, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You've been listening to Mac Talk from Mount Haven Arts and Cultural Center. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and encourage our community through the transformative power of the arts. If you're interested in transforming your creative life, check out our website at monthavenarts.org. Our guest today was Jason Spelbring, the new artistic director of Nashville Shakespeare Festival. The festival's annual Shakespeare in the Park will run this August through September at Centennial Park. For more information, go to nashvilleshakes.org. Our podcast music was written by Nashville composer Christina Spinay. I'm Kennedy Galpin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.